Welcome to the 5D Academy of Higher Consciousness. I'm Zarathustra, and today's topic is how to trust our inner knowing, how to trust our intuition, and live and be directed based on this powerful intuitive knowing and not mistaking it with the mind. Very good. One of our participants brought up this topic, and I'm very excited about it. It's a good one, and we all have um, sometimes struggle with the difference between the mind, blah blah blahing, or the intuitive knowing. So this is a very good topic to talk about. As always, like to share this with all my viewers from all over the world. Um, we will do a short meditation. If it's your first time with me and you're on other platforms and you're not on the Zoom, the my computer, I'm only seeing one platform, and that's the Zoom. Simultaneously, we're broadcasting on other platforms such as Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. And from my phone, I'm doing Instagram. But since I only have one screen in front of me, basically it's easier for me to communicate through the Zoom. So, in case if you want to get into any kind of live interaction with me, my suggestion is if you go to my website, zarathustra.tv, and sign up there and go to the Academy and become a member of the Academy. It's a free service. And you're welcome to come and go as you wish. So, as always, we take a short meditation, and most of us are not in the same, they're not in California and Arizona time zone, either in Europe or East Coast of the US or Hawaii. Um, so some of us had a long day and the mind's very busy, and it's always good to just calm down and sink in and take our attention away from what is happening in the other world as well as what is happening in our minds, which are both pretty much the same in so many ways. And you disconnect from it and you bring your attention inwards. And by bringing your attention inwards, uh, and in a very simple way, rather than really forcing to meditate, is you can just use a very simple method. And that is if you just bring your attention on your third eye and concentrate on this point, take a deep breath. And then, if your mind's still busy, you follow the stream of your thoughts inwards and see where do your thoughts come from. If you follow your thoughts inwards and relax, and your mind will go into silence almost instantly without trying to become quiet. You become quiet. So let's just take a deep breath and relax and bring your attention inwards. Bring your attention on your third eye, or here, this point, even though third eye is not here, but we refer to it. And dive in. Just relax. Allow yourself to dive into this moment. Give yourself permission to be quiet and relax. Slowly, slowly come back. It it always seems like there's always a story going on in the mind. There's always something. Like an ever going saga of the mind wants to find something to cling on, and some kind of story is happening no matter what. I mean, everything could be perfectly aligned for you, and still the mind is going to go pick something up. Of course, there's momentarily satisfaction of the mind that it mellows down, and because especially after we get the object of desire, whatever the object of the desire is, whether it's a person or it's a thing or a situation that went towards our way and we're happy about it. So the mind quiets down, or it's just simply in a state of satisfaction momentarily. And then, but it doesn't last very long. And then something else happens, and then the mind goes and picks up whatever the story is and identifies itself with that story. And that story becomes the topic of what's happening in the head. So it's continuous, continuously happening. And the key is to recognize that and noticing that it's not really happening to you. You're not the one who is going through this story. It's the mind that is going through the story. And that's the nature of it. So, to distinguish the two, um, we come to this other aspect of ourselves, which is our intuitive knowing, which is very different than the mind speaking to us. Although there's a very thin line in between, it's like a hairline in between the two. But throughout time and through recognition, we can distinguish the two from one another. Because the intuitive knowing is basically coming from a different part of our existence or our body. And a lot of people refer to it as their gut. They say, oh, well, my gut tells me. Well, even in our physiology, about 85-90% of our neurotransmitters are in our digestive tract. So 95% of 90, 95, 85 to 95% of the neurotransmitters are in the gut, means that there's a thinking mechanism happening. There's a brain there. So we're referring to it as my gut. My gut told me don't do this or don't do that. Then we get caught into the saga of the mind and the stuff that is going on there. But something down deep inside you knows. It knows that, okay, this is right, that's wrong. This is the direction you need to go, and avoid this. And as our sister said earlier, that, okay, I intuitively know what I need to do, and then I listen to one of these respected spiritual teachers and or spiritual authorities, and as I listen to their lecture and then I change my mind, or I get confused, or I just feel like I need to go in a different direction. um, the key is that, of course, we are continuously bombarded by a lot of information. So, a lot of stuff continuously coming to you. So much stuff from in every level, every aspect and facet of life is full of different kind of information because of the information era that we're in, and the fact that uh, information so available. And but that doesn't mean it's the fact, but there's just information. So it's easy to get to lose your path and go in a different direction. And this trusting your intuition, it it comes from a continuous paying attention. And in this paying attention, there are times like you don't really listen to your gut and you do something else, and the results are not positive or they're not in your favor. And but that's okay. You don't want to beat yourself up because you didn't listen to your gut. That's a part of your path. That's a part of the spiritual warrior's journey, is as well as not listening to your gut and listening to your gut. That's a part of it. So you're going to fail and make mistakes. I mean, there's no mistakes, anyways, from a higher level of consciousness, from a broader perspective of awareness. There is no such thing as right or wrong, or making mistakes or failing. It's all a part of the happening of totality. It's exactly the way it needs to happen. Otherwise, it would not happen. However, there is this sense in us that I have something to say, or I can choose. And based on that, if I can have some kind of um, effect on the outputs of the events. So, in some ways, this, excuse me, I apologize. I just messed up. Okay. Yeah. Sorry about that. Um, let me see. Um, Let me put this in a very simple language so you don't get confused. Everything in this business of consciousness, it's got layers. And there's just like, it's like peeling an onion. So there's different levels as you're expanding, as you're opening your mind. This expansion starts to happen. And the expansion typically starts to happen through questioning yourself, such as, who am I? Or where do I come from? And from that moment on, what is the nature of my existence? Uh, who is God? Where would I go after I die? Where was I before I was born? So these are some of the fundamental questions for the spiritual warrior, the person who is opening up to this realm versus the rest of the humanity who never question. They never have such questions. They never think about it. So from that moment on, now you're opening yourself to a broader reality. And this expansions is continuous, even though there are moments like you're expanding and then it looks like it contracts. So you may feel like you lost your way and you were very spiritual and you were doing really well. And then you got caught into the world and you lost your way and you forgot about your practice for several years. And then at one point, you just catch yourself and you get back into it again. But that's a part of the nature of this dimension. It contracts and it expands. It's like your spirituality is like if you get a balloon and you're blowing into this balloon. Okay? Who's ever blown into a balloon? Are you there? Yeah? Show me your hand. Okay. So, when you get a balloon and you blow into it, do you blow into it to its maximum capacity the first time? Or you just blow into it to a certain point, and then what do? You let the air go, and then you blow into it a little bit more, and you let the air go, and the third time you blow into it to its maximum capacity, right? If the first time you blow into it and want to bring it to its maximum capacity, it's very much possible that the balloon either resists at certain point and it won't take any more air, or it blows up. So in order not to blow up the balloon in the first shot, you have to stretch it and let the air go, and then stretch it a little bit longer and let the air go, and then the third time you go all the way to its maximum capacity. Otherwise you blow up the balloon. And the same thing is happening with us here right now, is that somehow following the rules and the laws of third dimension consciousness, in 99.99% of the cases of the spiritual seekers, that cannot load you up with all the wisdom of existence. You will simply blow up your fuse. You will go crazy because not even you, because we don't have the capacity of taking everything in at once and digesting it. So, based on your ability and your capacity and your flexibility, consciousness, God, it gives you realizations with practices and challenges and everything, so you can grog, you can get it. Did anybody ever read the book Stranger in a Strange Land by um, Robert Anton Wilson, I think, or forgot the name of the author. Anyway, the part that the main character says, I grog. I understand. I get it. I don't grog. So there's certain amount of wisdom and realizations that we can handle at any given moment. But back to what I was trying to say is, as if, as your understanding begins to broaden and you're opening up yourself, we're all coming from this and we start seeing more, and we're opening up, and the parts of it is really scary. It's like, oh my god, wow, no, ooh, you're just like, going through these different phases, like you think you're going crazy, and nobody understands you, nobody knows what you're going through, you're in isolation, and people around you have no idea. They want to give you medications, or they want to take you to madhouse, or wondering what the hell is wrong with you, what kind of drugs are you on, what kind of journey you're on, or what's happening, and you're just going through these things. It's like metamorphosis. It's like a snake that is shedding its old skin for the first time, and it's frightening because the snake is still there, but the old skin is falling off. And it's just like so frightening. Or like the caterpillar is turning into a butterfly. It used to be a worm dragging itself on the ground. And now that shell is dying and it's turning into a butterfly, is going to fly from barely be able to, not even walking, is dragging yourself on the ground, so limited, to flying. Have you seen a worm is turning into, the caterpillar is turning into butterfly? You've seen it. Everybody's seen it. Yeah? Raise your hand so I make sure you're listening to me and you're here. You haven't fallen asleep yet. Good. So that's scary. That transformation is frightening for any being going through it, because you don't know what the fuck is happening. What the hell is going on? And that's what is happening to us in this process of awakening. It's scary. The way out is scary. First, you get a gun, then you put two rivers together. But regardless, it's still scary. So, something deeper inside you knows. Because the master, the actual guru, is inside. We have not learned, or we don't know the language of communicating with the guru within, which is your own self. You call it higher self. But since we don't know that language, which is an intuitive language, it's different. It's not black and white, it's not words. Is that then we need an other guru, other teacher, to come and talk to us within a language that we can understand. But as you're expanding and time goes by, slowly, you're paying more attention to this intuitive knowing. But not following it and making mistakes is a part of the school of spirituality. It's a path of the spiritual warrior. And that's okay. The trial and error, that's a part of the deal. And the more you get tuned into this knowing, which only you're going to recognize it through making mistakes, through not listening to it over and over again and following some other doctrine or some book or some teacher. And as you go through your mistakes, you begin to pay more attention to it. And it doesn't matter who the teacher is, how famous they are, how big they are, how distinguished they are, how many books they've written, how many followers they have. They may say, do this or do that, but your intuition says no. And you're tuning into that. And that's the language of your inner guru. But it's different. It's a different kind of language. And a part of this language and learning the language and following it is also has to do with trusting. Trusting. Trust is probably one of the final stages of walking through the gateways of heaven, by trusting your intuition, by letting go, by not knowing. Okay, here, listen to this part. Let me say this one more time and pay attention to it. Not knowing. Operating from a place of not knowing. Operating from a place of not knowing is different than ignorance. Ignorance is a different story. Not knowing is simply you have arrived at this place that you don't really need to know. You're trusting that something inside you knows everything, otherwise, you wouldn't be here. Something brought you here, something connected you to this teaching, to these words, to this wisdom, to this transmission of wisdom, energy, and inner knowing. Something has brought you here. That same thing that has brought us here is the same thing that has constructed the universe. Something is making the planet Earth to turn around itself. Do you know how planet Earth turns around itself? I don't. Do I need to know how planet Earth turns around itself? Not really. And not only it turns around itself, and then it turns around the sun. And all these other planets are turning around themselves and turning around the sun, and none of them collide with each other. Wow. Some intelligence is operating this. And then the same intelligence that's operating it is operating the day turns to night, and the night turns to day. Day turns to night, night to day. And the seasons come and go. Right now it's the summer, and then in a couple of months it's going to turn to fall, then goes to winter, and then goes to spring. And intelligence, something is operating this. And the same intelligence is functioning, is operating your body, is running your digestive system, is operating your your blood flow, your nervous system, your heart, your brain, everything cooperating with everything. And when you're sleeping at night, all the functions of cleaning up, regenerating, you don't know any of these things. You have nothing to do with any of it. You don't deal with it. You don't push any buttons. It's just happening on its own. So let's take a moment and pay attention to all these systems that are at work, and we have nothing to do with it. You're not you're not conducting, you know, some intersections in different places in the world, like different cities that are very busy. Right in the middle of the intersection, they have a policeman or a policewoman, and because it needs to guide the traffic, even though the traffic lights are working, but you need somebody. It's so busy that you need a policeman or a policewoman to be standing in the middle of it and, in, you know, stopping the traffic, directing the traffic. So you're not doing that with existence. You're not in charge of it. You're not dealing with it. Who's doing it? And who has brought trillions and trillions of human beings on this planet before you were born, and who's going to continue doing this work after you die? Who's been doing that? Who's managing it? Who's operating it? It's a very simple question. However, in pseudo spirituality, the new wave of spirituality, these things are kind of denied, and it's talking about you are the one who is co-creating, and you're the one who in this partnership with God. But why would God need you for partnership? Why would God need me? Because I'm needy. I'm always asking for something continuously. Like, I got this begging hand out there, is always begging for something. Oh God, please, make this thing happen for me. Give me love, give me money, give me youth, give me health. So why in the world God wants me as her partner? What do I have to offer here? What do I bring to the table? Have you ever thought about that? In the eyes of Her Majesty, the Supreme Being, we're all beggars. We're all beggars. In the eyes of God, every human being is a beggar. You don't believe me? Pay attention to your mind for half a day. See how many times you're asking for this and that. So, God doesn't need me as its partner, as a co creator, because, I've only been here around just for a few years. Before, I have no idea where I was, and I have no idea where I'm going to go after this. So, what I'm referring to, okay, and that's another discussion, another topic for another day. But what I'm saying is something is running the show. Something much bigger than you and I is running the show. So, once I notice and recognize the presence of this intelligence, that you call it, grand spirit, consciousness, or old school way of saying it, God. So we notice like there is this other like mighty power. Then it also brings me to this point that, hey, I can trust it because it's brought me to this point and has fed me and has taken care of me. And I've been in 5 near-death experiences, but for some reason, all 5 times I've been saved. Whether I deserve it or I don't, somehow it saved me. So there's something much bigger. I can not necessarily maybe I understand it because there's a lot to figure out, but I can trust it. And this, whatever it is also in communication. And I call it my intuition. But even this, my intuition part, it still comes from a sense of I am a separated entity. I'm a human being, separated entity from the collective. I'm not one with everything. I'm in separation. Then my intuition belongs to me and it's guiding me. But as you're expanding, your consciousness is expanding, you realize there's only one intuition. There's only one voice. And that voice whispers in everybody's hearts. It's the same one that is guiding everybody. So as you are expanding and tuning in more into the vastness of the being, this presence, this vastness, then some recognize in this vastness of this being, wow, there's this presence. It's so vast. And you sort of slowly illuminating. You're getting illuminated. You're kind of disappearing into that. It's kind of like a surrender. But these are words. These are words I'm using. So don't hang on to these words, but it's kind of like surrendering into the vastness of the presence. So you're kind of disappearing into the one. You're disappearing into the light. And as this shift is happening, which is happening right now to you, you are in this process. Because if you weren't in a process, you wouldn't be sitting here listening to me.
Can I ask?
Yeah, just one moment. Yeah, you can, but one moment. So as this shift is happening, right? It's happening right now. We're in a process of it. Maybe it's not happening in the speed you want it to happen, but remember you're this balloon and God, consciousness is blowing into you, and it's not going to do it too fast, too quick, because you're going to blow up. Remember, you're in the hands of the master. So knows your capacity and knows how much you can take. So be patient. Just chill out. Be patient. God is carrying you step by step to have you merge in, your consciousness merge in into the grand consciousness. It's happening. And a part of this process is going to be you or me not listening to the voice. That's a part of it. Till you tune in into the voice, and eventually you get to a point which happened to many Sufis, many. When I say Sufi, I'm talking about the illuminated ones. I'm not talking about Islamic Sufi. I'm talking about the sage, the awakened ones that are awakening to the understanding that something much bigger is operating through them. And we know them. We've heard their names. They're the alchemists. They're the illuminated ones. Do you grog? You grog? Okay. Yeah. I'm gonna talk to you, Elijah, for a moment, but I want these things to sink in before we get into a conversation. Let it to sink in. It's like I poured a lot of tea, a lot of sugar in my tea, and I'm just stirring it, and the sugar particles are still running. And let them sink in. All right, Miss Elijah, go ahead.
And it's like this higher intelligence that is whispering through our hearts and running the whole show. Also, it's the same intelligence who is like running the things that we're picking up with our mind as well, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's all that.
So it's like a mix about all this sleepiness, who is like these illusions, and then
Yeah. It's all that, the oneness, including the sleepiness.
Yeah.
And the more you begin to recognize it and notice it, the less you ask questions. In the beginning, there's a lot of questions. Why is this? Why is that? Why would existence construct such a thing like this? So we have to go through this process. There's a lot of why.
Yeah.
Okay. And as you go forward, you realize when this why is coming, it's perfectly normal and healthy to ask these questions in the beginning. But as you go deeper into the vastness, the questions start to disappear. Or if they rise, you don't give them any energy. You don't entertain them because they don't take you anywhere. So
yes, yeah, because when like when the illusion gets the attention, then it's like it spirals down.
when the illusion gets it,
For me,
yeah,
for me, it's like when I give the illusion the attention, then I spiraling down.
Down
right?
in a good way or bad way? I'm not sure if I understand what you mean. Down means down in the rabbit hole, or
Yeah, it can be in a good way because, of course, everything is like a lesson, right? But yeah, if in a bad way, it's like for me personally, it is like uh, when I observe, then it is like when the illusion gets too real, it is like some people, not everyone, but yeah, almost everyone actually, but people can like shapeshift into monsters.
that too is true.
Yeah, so it's like what's happening? Like this beautiful person, all of a sudden it's like I see all the demons, and it's like, what's happening?
Right,
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
Hi, Julie.
Hi, Zarathustra.
Was I able to answer your question or be helpful, or do you have any other questions?
I'm integrating.
Okay, okay,
I might have question.
okay, okay.
But
I'm
that was extremely helpful.
great.
It was an answer I did not expect, and yeah, and of course, expectation is already
Right,
yeah.
right. Well, I'm very happy you brought it up. So, and feel free to ask questions if something comes up.
Will do. Thank you.
Yeah, sure. Remember that periods we enter in our lives, there are also periods like you just don't know what to do. There are periods that you're confused. I'll speak for myself. There are periods like I don't know what to do. Should I go on a tour to Europe and start teaching, or should I just stay home? um, should I move to this place or not? Should I continue teaching or stop teaching? There are periods in life that you just don't know what to do, and that's a part of the deal too. But also be aware that every indecisiveness, no matter how indecisive you are, always comes to one decision. It's impossible for you in your life to stay indecisive. Always deciding this way or that way. Should I do this? Should I do that? Should I marry this guy and should I marry that guy? Should I divorce or not? Should I stay? Should I go? Should I blah, blah, blah? Always results into one decision at the end. So we can trust in that too. And we can just remember in the times that we're very confused and don't know what to do, where to go, what is the next step. You The wiser you become, the more you recognize that that too is a process of your existence. There's sometimes extreme clarity, and there's times that there is confusion. These are aspects of the duality. They come together. You are living in the world of duality, the world of opposites. anything you do, the other part is coming with you. There is no such a thing as always being in light. What is light? If it was only light, then you wouldn't even know light exists, because that would be your only reality all the time. And then it becomes a nuisance. You have to have darkness. Or if it was always dark, you would never know of light, because dark is your only reality, because there's nothing else. The only reason you know that your mind is busy and driving you crazy, there's thoughts happening, is because you're permanently established in silence. A part of you is always still and is always silent. A part of you is firmly established into silence. That's why you can observe your thoughts and hear your mind. And that by itself indicates that you are not the mind, because you can observe it. So, what happens to the master, what happens to the awakened one, is that there's a rise above all dualities. Not in the appearance, though, not in what appears to be in the dual world, but in the consciousness. At one point, you go beyond the right and wrong, good and bad, and you rise above it. And you come to this point that you realize there is no good or there is no bad, and there is no light and there is no darkness. You rise above that, you go beyond that, and the mind cannot understand it. And that, we can say, in a way, is where you dive into your intuitive knowing, dive into the silence, where all of it is below. You have a horizon above it. And you can just trust that you're on this path. You can trust that you are taken care of. It doesn't matter what you do. It doesn't matter if you make a mistake or you don't. You can trust in that. So the more you trust, the more the intuitive knowing reveals itself and the more it becomes powerful, because you're trusting that God, existence, consciousness is always taking care of you in every aspect of your life. You are always taken care of. no matter what appears to be, no matter what kind of challenge happen in your life, no matter what kind of mistake you're making, it appears that you're making a mistake, or no matter that you have fallen into your desires, that your desires have taken over you, whatever it is, you just, you lost your way, and all you care about is making money, and it's all me, 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 or you got into the world of drugs or sex, or not sex, sex is drugs, alcohol, power, you're power tripping, you're stepping over people, you're destroying people because you want more. It's me, 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 everything for you. Even if you go in that direction, and the moment of clarity comes that you realize that you're still going to be taken care of because something is taking you in that direction. So the awareness appears, the awareness of the self shines through, and you realize that even in your darkest moment of ego and me, 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 you are still taken care of. Something much bigger than you and I is driving us. And that realization, that knowing, that's intuition, even in your darkest hour of life. There is a moment of recognition of that which is always here and that which is carrying us. And that by itself, in that very moment, saves you. It pulls you up. Because in that moment, in that darkest point in your life, it still is the self. It's Her Majesty, the Supreme, that wants to experience the world of duality through you, through me. And it knows what it's doing. But you're the instrument of experience. And that by itself is freedom. That recognition brings freedom. And know that no matter where you are, what you're doing, how far you have fallen into the abyss of darkness, how much you hate yourself, how ugly you feel like you've become, at one moment, wow, the source at one moment strikes you. At one moment, shoo, zaps you. And that being zapped in that moment is, you may just, you're on the street walking, downtown New York City or Jakarta, and you see a little child is begging for money or whatever, and you give him a couple rupees, and the child looks at you and gives you a smile. Or something happened to you, you fall down and someone comes and helps you to stand up. There's a moment that love strikes you, a moment. And that is like a laser beam that pierces into your armors and hits your heart. And pierce into like a laser beam of going into the depths of your heart. And in that very moment, you recognize the true nature of yourself. No matter how deep you've gone into the darkness. And all of a sudden, you realize that your true nature is love. through a simple smile, through a laughter, through a little act of kindness that somebody was kind to you for one moment, even though you have become a monster. And all of a sudden, everything changes in your life in that moment. And I'm talking about an extreme place. I'm not talking about most people on spiritual path, but we all go into this deep darkness. But you just trust and you have the awareness that you're going to come out. And that's also intuitive knowing, because you, down deep, in the very depth of your being, you know about your own goodness. You know you have goodness, no matter what you've done or what you're doing. You know you have kindness in you. You know you have love in you. You know it. That knowing is your intuition. And that just leads you back home. And it can happen in an instant. It doesn't matter. You may be a monster for 60 years, 70 years. And then boom, in one moment transformation happens and everything turns around because the light comes through and there's no way out. It doesn't matter what you do, what your mind is telling you, what kind of spiritual or worldly educations you have, what you have done. At the presence of Her Majesty Lord God, at the presence of the mighty self, we're just basically have zero power. And when the great being appears in our lives, it just completely transforms everything. Everything goes through transformation in cellular level. And the wisdom reveals itself. And it just burns your karma. Everything is just gone. And you realize who you are. You realize your true nature, your power. Everything else prior to that is this jumping jack of life that we have to go through. This dance of the lila of the world, the life of duality, of the struggle, of going through all these stages that I'm not good enough and I'm ugly and I'm not worthy and no one loves me and this is what happened to me. But if you really stop for one moment and look down deep, you know, if you have to do it again, you can do it again. If you go way down deep, you know who you are. Nobody needs to tell you who you are. You know that in the very, very depth of your being, it's only love. Love is your true nature. Love is your power. You know that. You've always known it. You will always know it, no matter what kind of action you get involved in. You know that down deep. But we're very good at fooling ourselves and pretending that we don't know it. We're amazing actors and actresses. to the point that we think we fooled ourselves. But it can never be done 100%. So you can relax in that. You can just pull back and relax in that, no matter what is going on in the head, no matter how much you may think like, oh my God, this is such a long journey, I would never get there, or Ramana Maharshi got there, or Papaji got there, or Guru uh, Yogananda got there, or whatever, I can never get there. You can relax in that and just let the process unfold without beating yourself up, because you're on your way and there's no way out. You can't get out of it. It's like you're in an airplane in the sky flying. You can't get out. You can't go out there and, okay, let me go out for a cigarette break. Or, okay, I can't stand it. I need to get out and take a break. You're in the plane. You can't get out. The doors are sealed. So you got into the plane at your starting point and you're going to end up at the destination. And the destination is God. Your consciousness merges into the God's consciousness. There's no way out. So you don't need to beat yourself up all the time, or hate yourself, or be angry with yourself, or question it all the time. You're destined to arrive home because that's who you are and that's who you've been. And you can't be anybody else. Only in this pretentious game and dance that we're playing with ourselves, momentarily we fall into this sleep that we're separated. Momentarily, it's an illusion of separation for a few moments into the span. This few moments, when I say, maybe it's 70, 80, 90 years. But in a span of eternity of existence, it's just a flash. That's all it is. And then you remember who you are. Hi, Susanna. Markvet. We've spoken before, right? I've seen you before. You've been at the academy. No, it's your first time here. Oh, welcome, welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah, where are you from?
I'm from Denmark.
Oh, right, cool.
Yeah.
Where in Denmark?
Aarhus.
Aarhus. I've been in Aarhus a few times.
Okay.
Yeah, I've done workshops there.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nice,
So,
nice, neat little city.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
I love to live here.
Yeah, it's quiet.
Yeah.
Anyone has any questions? I'm more than happy to answer it to the best of my ability. You're gonna have to unmute yourself. And I have a gentleman here, MB. Where are you from?
Ah, hello. It was
Hi.
mute. Sorry.
Yeah, no
I
problem.
come from Iraq. I come from Iraq, from Baghdad,
Okay.
and I live in Austria.
In Austria.
Yeah.
Right. So welcome.
Thank you so much. This is the first time for me. My English also not the best. I'm trying to do my best also.
Well,
So sorry.
no problem. What is your first name?
You can call it Muhammad
Okay. Well,
and last name Bayati. I have
IoT.
sent you also an email.
Oh yeah, right. Yeah. We somehow we miscommunicated uh with your email, and we wrote back to you. I don't know if you got my message or not, but I'm sorry if we got back to you late.
No problem. All
Right.
right.
Well, I'm glad you're here now. So
Thank you so much.
yeah,
I'm glad to.
welcome. I'll do my best to help you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
So I have a question, please.
Yeah, sure.
How many chakras do we have to open to get into the 5D, into the 5 dimension?
That's a good question. I don't know. I don't know how many chakras you have to open up to get to that point. To be honest with you,
All right.
as honest as I can be.
So thank you for that.
Yeah, you're welcome. the guru, the actual guru, is the silence. Silence is the path to self realization. Anything of value and worthy, its foundation is into silence. And you don't have to spend money, do anything, change your hairstyle, change your clothing, change your diet, do anything in order to be silent. It's free, it's available, and it's your turn. The more you take time to be quiet, be by yourself, or go into the nature, the more you feel the presence of Her Majesty, the Supreme Being, God, the ultimate, the being. It's always here, always. It's always available. And you don't have to do anything for it. All you have to do is to be quiet. And in this practice of being quiet, you separate yourself automatically from the mind, because the mind is like a radio and it's just playing, it's talking, blah, 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 blah. You have a radio, you're in a kitchen making food, you have the TV on or you have a radio on, and there's news, and that's going on. That's like the mind is always going on. But your attention is in cooking and cutting vegetables or meat, and you're hearing, but you're not paying attention to the noise. That's the mind. The more you learn to be quiet, the more you get separated from the mind, the more you start to feel the presence of Her Majesty, the presence of God, the presence of the Creator, of the being. You feel it around you. It's here. And it's always communicating with you. It's always taking care of you. You're always at the company of the Holy One, the Holy Self. It's always here. And it's unconditional. It's not there's no requirements for it. That is the power and the beauty of the being. There is zero requirements. You may just say, well, I'm not feeling it. So then all you have to do is just simply be quiet. And it reveals itself to you. It's as simple as that. And then as you're quiet, you begin to feel this love, this bliss, because it's emanating from your own heart. And it gets stronger. It gets stronger because, not because you're doing something. It's not like I'm going to the gym and I'm lifting weights to get stronger and build muscles, because whatever I gain, I can also lose. I get into a weight training program and I build myself up. And then if I get injured or I somehow don't exercise, I lose it. I lose my muscles. But this is something you cannot gain and you cannot lose. This is always here. It's a matter of recognizing it. And you cannot recognize the presence of the vastness of the truth of who you are. You cannot recognize it by thinking. If you're trying to think to recognize it, it only takes you in the world of Maya. It takes you in the world of thoughts. And you will never get to it. You have to separate yourself from the world of thoughts. So it's like a journey from the head to the heart. You become quiet and it reveals itself to you. It shows itself to you. And the more you sit with it, the more powerful it becomes. The more in your life guiding you. As your intuitive, we call it intuitive knowing, but it's guiding you in the right direction. And it also showers you with blessings. Unexpected things come to you, magic happens in your life, miracles happen in your life, but not because you're doing something. Simply, you are quiet and you're available. Thank you for with me today. Always a pleasure, and then to sit together in the midst of this chaos and craziness of the world, and everything is happening in the world. We stop and we sit in silence. And when you stop and disconnect from the world, outer world, and you disconnect from inner world, from your mind, which is the same. The mind and the world are both the same. There's no separation between your mind and the world. They're both the same. The world that appears to be is a manifestation of what is going in the mind, and the world you see outside is the same thing. It's a manifestation of what's going on in your mind. So when you stop and you're not thinking and you come back here, it gives you the clarity of recognizing that inside yourself, it's quiet. There's nothing going on. It's really, really silent. There's nothing happening in the core of your existence. And the more you come to this place, the more you start, the world outside is not real. The world you're seeing outside with all its stuff is not real. Same as your mind is not real. Neither of them are real because they're changing all the time. And they're being observed by the witness, by the observer. The observer is seeing the mind, is hearing mind, and is seeing the world and hearing the world. So the more you come back here to yourself, the more you realize neither your mind nor the world is real. Yet to be real. It looks like it. And you start to find the inner freedom. It leads you towards freedom. Happiness and bliss begin to show itself to you. It starts to reveal itself. You start to experience the joy and the love that's in your heart, and that takes over. And that becomes your reality of life. Yet the world out there, but your inner world is quiet, it's peaceful, you're not in conflict with yourself, you know who you are. And things that were very important to you or things were bothering you before, they slowly begin to disappear and not have any power over you anymore. So we'll have our next academy next Wednesday. I think in the next few days, we'll ready to put an announcement for my retreat in Tulum, Mexico, and that's going to be in February. It's a dual retreat with my beloved friend Baram G. Also, we're going to be posting my upcoming European tour in next few days. I will be starting from Poland, Norway, Sweden, Germany. And that's all going to be in October. So we'll be posting the tour and the information, and hopefully I'll be able to see some of you in person. But the Academy will continue doing it. If you feel like communicating with me, you can write an email to me. My email is info@Zarathustra. My social media address is Zarathustra5D, and my website is Zarathustra.tv. A copy of this broadcast, for those of you who are on Zoom, we're going to email you a copy of this broadcast, as well as it's posted on all my social medias. And if you go on my YouTube channel, Zarathustra 5D, there's a lot of different satsangs and academy webinars that you can go through the different topics and just see which one you like to listen to. I appreciate your coming. Stay in your heart and know one thing, that in the depth of the existence, nothing is. There's nothing you need to worry about in the world. No matter what craziness is happening in the world, there's nothing to be afraid of or be scared of. Always come back here and you discover that the power of God is within yourself, and you're always taken care of by God. Always. Nothing would ever happen to you. Namaste. Thank you.
Recording.
Thank you very much, my viewers from YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. And look forward to seeing you next. Namaste.